Boom, we are live this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And although this is one of my least favorite subjects when it comes to business, I'm looking forward to this podcast. We have Drew Kernosky. Did I say that properly?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, nailed it.
Nice. Drew Kernosky from the Archer Tax Group. Now, one of the reasons why I'm excited about this is because I dislike taxes so much that most of the time I don't want to deal with it. And I also thought this was a valuable, I guess, grouping of information to bring to the Bear family, because I know it's one of those things that a lot of us put off to the last minute. And with many losses having taken place potentially over the last year, I'm very excited to have you on the show today, Drew. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well, making it through the season. We got 10 days till corporate filings here in the US, and then from there, a month out until personal filings. So we're kind of making that last minute push. Everyone's coming out of the woodwork right at the end here.
Right. So just to be clear here, you do both taxes in United States and Canada, correct?
Yes. Yep. We actually work in quite a few jurisdictions. So I've got some clients in Hong Kong. I've got some guys in Pakistan. We're kind of all over the world. You know, we've kind of had to branch out just because crypto is a global thing, and working in ICOs and dealing with, honestly, you know, pretty much any jurisdiction that's going to come up. You know, we've seen some Malta businesses. We've seen BVI. We've gotten really creative with it because we now live in a world where you can literally exist outside of your country of origin and run a business and be successful at it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that itself is very profound. So you guys are mostly focusing on crypto taxes, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go down with that there just hasn't been clarification. I mean, the IRS gave us one notice back in 2014, and that's the only guidance we've gotten about crypto taxes. So there was just a huge deficit of knowledge. And I just got really, concerned that, you stop and think about your typical CPA or tax preparer. They're 65 years old. They're not really on the bleeding edge, not trying to keep up on, the new, and you can't get much more new than crypto. And you add in that era of uncertainty. It's a perfect storm for people just needing help. And we've been trying to get out there and talk to as many people as we can.
Yeah, this is such a confusing topic. Now, from the get-go, I think one of the most interesting things that comes to my mind is the fact that, well, at least in the United States, that they're viewing these as commodities. I think the first question that comes to my mind is, do you think in the future they will start to look at Bitcoin and the other cryptos as currencies, which would that put it in a different form of taxation?
Yeah, so within the United States, basically, if you've got foreign currencies that you're trading, you get a $600 de minimis exemption that you don't have to claim the first $600 of any gain on that currency. So there's actually been, even here in Colorado, a couple people proposing a bill saying, look, we want to treat crypto like currency and have that exemption. And we've gotten some pushback from the state revenue board of, look, we don't want to be doing that because it's going to cause all sorts of issues. Why would we do that for you guys over gold? So I think it's going to take some time for people to get used to just the idea that crypto can be multiple things in multiple ways. Normally we break coins out, are they security or are they utility? And that changes the tax structure and the revenue recognition on top of then the question of, is this money, is this currency? I think it's going to change things dramatically, but we're probably another 5 to 10 years out before any government body actually figures out what the heck is going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems regulation and rules are always a few years behind. Do you think that if they changed that and it became currency, what would the taxes that had been paid on it as a commodity? Government would be like, oh, I guess we owe you guys a bunch of money.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, if they're going back and retroactively changing the law, typically laws only go forward, but they might say, we'll give an exemption if you want to go back and amend the last 3 years and get a return or a refund, I should say, on that. Then you've got that 3 years, at least as a U.S. taxpayer. That's been probably one of the more contentious parts of like-kind exchange. I mean, I remember in 2017, I saw article after article of like, hey, they're listing crypto as property. Like-kind exchanges, like properties, are exempted from recognizing capital gains. That's one of those things that I think a lot of people probably set themselves up for failure in because they didn't read the actual specifics of the law. They just took an article that they saw at face value and said, I want this to be this way. And there's going to be a lot of heartbreak when the IRS comes cracking down on like-kind exchange. And I think we'll see a court case in the next year or two specifically on that issue.
Right. So I guess that brings us to the question: how are they generally taxing cryptos? Is it as commodities, and what does that look like in countries like Canada, the United States?
Yeah. So honestly, it's all about capital gains. The question is, what is your basis in the token? What did you sell it for? You're going to pay taxes on the difference. Now, depending on how you receive that token, whether you're buying it in fiat, you're trading coin for coin, or you're getting paid in tokens, completely transforms that basis and might even have additional taxes, stuck in there as well. You could have income tax on it before you have any capital gains or capital losses.
Right. So And what about people that are operating businesses in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space that are accepting, for instance, I mean, I had not very many people, I had a few people buy, a t-shirt or
Right.
A towel online using Bitcoin. It's amazing that these aren't viewed as currencies, considering that's what it's being used as in the business aspect. Is there anywhere in the world where they're doing that currently, where it's viewed specifically as money?
So I don't know offhand. I'd have to check. I think the Ukraine was doing that for a little bit. There's some of the more Eastern European countries that are trying to really pull in. Estonia has been really, really favorable for general crypto transactions because they want companies to come. The problem is they're still, their corporate rates are actually worse than America's. So it's one of those situations where you kind of trade back and forth. Is this a currency? Is this not? Because even if you receive those tokens for services, you still have to recognize the revenue. So even if you don't have the capital gains component, you can still get kind of raked over the coals from a tax perspective.
Yeah, it's such a strange gray area. And it's one of the things that's kind of bothered me about this space is that, or I guess in any up and coming sector, is that gray area. You're trying to stay up to date with the regulations. And it's just, we're at a loss because they haven't decided to make up their mind yet.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess one of the things that a lot of the Bear family is going to be interested in is, what kind of services do you guys offer?
Yeah.
And I guess, are you guys accepting crypto for payment as well then?
Oh, absolutely. We can't not in this space. I've actually got a client that's paying me in crypto today that I just got the verification about an hour ago. Way cheaper than taking PayPal. So we're big fans of taking crypto payments. Mostly, one, because we believe in the space and we see the long-term potential. We just had ETH Denver out here. Oh gosh, it was a week, 2 weeks ago. Ton of amazing things being built on the blockchain. There's a lot of new ideas. Our intern's actually working on a couple different projects on the side as well, just out of pure curiosity, and it's going to upend anything from healthcare records to title insurance, which is something that no one ever thinks about. But there's a lot of money to be saved for the average person, just in streamlining and making the efficiency process. But yeah, we're taking on new clients. We're really looking to work with individuals that are looking to accept crypto as payments. We've done some ICO consulting as well. We help out with all the tax structure in there because there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen on the ICO side. And then we also want to work with investors that want to find kind of their exit strategy too from crypto. I come from a finance background, and you never want to have all of your eggs in one basket. So there's something that kind of came up in the new tax law that actually allows you to defer your capital gains until 2026. If you're lucky enough to have capital gains right now, which is kind of far and few between for people unless they've been in since 2014 on. There's some ways that we could actually maneuver that around quite easily.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. I mean, I know I'm running at a loss. I know I'm running at a loss. Last year was absurd by a long shot. But I guess I think a lot of people might have questions like that. If you didn't come out ahead, especially, I mean, there's people that hopefully didn't, but I'm sure there are people that bought at the top and then now they've lost money. How do they claim losses, and how much losses can you claim in countries like Canada and the USA? Yeah,
so in the US, we've got a rule that any losses in excess of capital gains get capped at $3,000 against your ordinary income. So everything within the US tax code is basically structuring around the idea of what type of income is it. Your W-2 job, the business that you run are all ordinary income items. Your crypto would go against that. So if you've got $10,000 a year salary and you've got $5,000 worth of crypto loss, you'd be able to take $3,000 against your $10,000. So you're only going to pay tax on the $7,000 of salary, and then the remaining $2,000 carries over the next year. And that carries over year after year after year, and it only carries forward for individuals. Now, in some cases, we can carry it backwards if it's been traded through a corporation, and we can look at net operating loss instead of capital. But that's a 12-hour diatribe that I'm sure your viewers aren't really interested in going into yet. But if y'all have questions on that, there are some benefits to trading within a corporation. Locking in specific cap rates, being able to take on investors, things like that. We want to talk about that very carefully. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that people just aren't aware of. That loss doesn't carry backwards; it only carries forward.
Yeah, I mean, this, like you said, there's a whole little niche of pathways we can go down there. Yeah. But for those that are listening and interested, the ability, I mean, I know it's a lot easier for Canadians, but to open offshore corporations and bank accounts is actually not that difficult to do. And I know a lot of people complain about big companies not paying taxes, but if you're not living or operating that much in the country that you're supposed to be paying taxes to, why the hell would you even want to pay the taxes in the first place?
Well, and the other amazing thing too, so any U.S. Digital nomads that you've got out there that are living abroad, you can actually exempt up to the first $100,000 of income. So if you're working and hustling on the outside and running, say, a YouTube channel, and you've got that income, you're not going to pay income tax on the first 100,000. So it's a really great incentive if you can find a lower cost living, than somewhere in the U.S. So we're out here in Colorado. It's expensive as all get out to live here. I've been trying to talk my wife into moving somewhere warmer and sunnier, but she just loves the mountains too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting side topic, and again, we'll save that. Anyone that's interested, I suggest you guys send Drew a message or do your own research via the internet to find out more. But there's a lot of pathways that allow you to lessen the burden of your taxes by living somewhere else and relocating. It's one of the reasons why I've lived abroad for almost a decade straight now.
Yeah,
it allows me that a bit more freedom. So I guess one of the next important thoughts is kind of explain to us, I guess, what it looks like if you file taxes and you make mistakes, or if you're a year too late. What are the penalties and I guess the abstractions that people might be looking at as well? Say they didn't file 2017 and they want to file now.
Yeah, certainly. So there's a couple different penalties that get tacked on the U.S. side. Failure to file penalty, failure to pay, underpayment are the big three. Most of those can be unwound with what's called the first time penalty abatement. So as long as you don't have any priors with the IRS, they basically say, we'll drop these penalties. You might still have some interest if you've got a big balance. But the thing is, you don't want to file a return and then amend and say, well, actually, we had $100,000 worth of crypto gains. They would consider that a substantial understatement of tax liability, and they hit you with a 20% penalty. So it's not something that you want to really try to get cute with per se. You want to be coming to the IRS before the IRS is coming to you. More often than not, they're going to look at, did you make a good faith effort? If you pull a John McAfee and you jump on Twitter and start talking about how you haven't paid taxes in 8 years, you have no intention to, the government's corrupt, you can take that stance, but you just won yourself a tax evasion charge. And there's going to be really difficult to prove that you didn't have the intent to defraud the US government when you've got a video of yourself, saying that you're deliberately not paying your taxes. If you're at least taking the time to file and being proactive about it, there's so much more that we can do on a navigational front and a planning front that there's no reason to have to, not file your taxes. We can be more intelligent about how we're handling that and, seek out tax reduction strategies instead of just tax evasion strategies.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really interesting here too is that first off, everybody in the Bear family fucking hates taxes. They're not big fans of governments. I'm sure we'd agree on this, that one of the reasons why we invested in this space is because it removes some of those intermediaries that are trying to control us.
Certainly.
But for now, you got to play the game, because unless you could afford to totally leave the game, you gotta keep playing it. And it's one of those abstractions in thought where it's like, okay, if I don't do this right. I mean, in the United States, if you owe up to $50,000, they'll just cancel your passport.
Right.
Although I'd also like to point out the fact that Edward Snowden was able to travel from China to Russia because they still hadn't canceled his passport after they knew it was him that had leaked all the information. So you might be able to get away for a little bit, but they will eventually find out.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what, it's probably more expensive to bribe a Venezuelan official, and that's not going to be a guarantee that you're going to be safe for too much longer with things going the way down there that they are. It's just one of those things that we have to operate within the system, and I think we have to fight from within. We're fortunate enough out here in Colorado, a state that is champion medical marijuana and now recreational, that really wants to help build this space into something more. And I think we can still upend the system. I always want to acknowledge the ANCAP roots of cryptocurrencies. I think that's a wonderful way to have that. I think we need to try and preserve it as much as possible. But if we're all fleeing, then no one's here left to fight. So that's one of those things that we always have to carefully balance. I don't like paying taxes to the government any more than anybody else does. So I do my best to reduce my taxes through legal means. And they give us so many loopholes to utilize even for individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. That brings us back to those obscure pathways that if you put a little bit of time and energy into educating yourself, you can sometimes get away with paying no taxes. And they create those loopholes so that if you take the time to do it, you can also receive those benefits.
Yeah.
So basically, I wanted you to explain what a QOZ is and want to use it.
Yeah, so it's a new part of the tax law updates here from 2017 for U.S. taxpayers. And the general idea is if you have a capital gain that you reinvest into, they're called qualified opportunity zones. And there are all these different areas. Detroit's got a whole bunch of them. The town that I'm actually in here, Longmont, Colorado, The whole downtown's actually a QOZ. So it's all based on, impoverished areas in 2010, and actually almost the entire island of Puerto Rico is a QOZ as well. So there's some ways that we can actually leverage capital gains items and how people invoke Act 20 and Act 22 to move to Puerto Rico and start companies right away, so having that 10-year lockup period on their assets. But the general idea is if you make an investment in a business that operates in a QOZ or real estate that you dramatically improve, you can kick the can down the road on those capital gains until the end of 2026, and they give you a bump in basis as well. So they're going to give you a discount on your gains, along with giving you basically the time value of money. And then at year 10, there's actually an exit strategy where you pay no capital gains on the fully formed asset. So we're working with a ton of startups to structure themselves in QOZs. A lot of them are in the crypto space. Anyone that's doing this security token offerings now, if your token's backed by a share of stock in the company, you can actually turn around and utilize those QOZs by investing in crypto that you've been holding on to for 2+ years and that you've got a gain in. So even if your portfolio's at a net loss, there might be some items that have gains that we can actually recognize those gains and then not pay taxes on them for another 7 years.
Wow. Yeah, see, these loopholes have always fascinated me. And before we leave this area and kind of go to the next spot, what I wanted to point out was you and I had this discussion. It was one of the first few things that kind of connected us as friends, is that when we're born into a country, which is basically a corporation, your name is put on your birth certificate. It sort of acts as your fake identity within the corporation. Right. It kind of makes you a subset of the corporation. And I've always been baffled that I don't see more people taking something to Supreme Court where they're like, hey, when I turned 18, no one ever asked me if I wanted to sign up for this shit. Right. And normally, like if I took out a credit card when I was 15 years old and I signed away those rights, that credit card company would get nothing from me because it was in their fault. Yet the government seems to be able to sign our rights away for us before. Anyways, there was one of the conversations that really made us friends.
Well, and it's one of those things too. I mean, it's a voluntary tax system, and voluntary. Either you file it or we'll file it for you, and if you don't pay the crown, then you're going to get thrown in jail. So there's all sorts of things. You don't have to always believe in the system, but we always have to try and work around and navigate and fight from within. And that's the thing. It's all arbitrary, and I think if they actually let people do what they wanted to do, things would crumble. I mean, the issue is then you've got nowhere to go. How are we supposed to know who you are? I think crypto offers some solutions to that. Being able to actually have a birth certificate on the blockchain means that you can be truly a digital nomad.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff about the crypto space. I think the first time we got paid in Bitcoin for a service, over the last year or two, I've been changing, or I guess 5 years now. Jesus, time flies fast. I'm turning 32 this week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting old. The point of this was I realized that as an entrepreneur, the majority of the time, even though you might have a business that's ethical, providing products and services that are healthy or contributing to society, that the dollar or the money that we're running off of doesn't necessarily have a clean history. Right. Just like you might be whitewashing a company if you do like Gillette's stupid commercial. You're basically trying to whitewash or virtue signal some. But with Bitcoin, we can be paid as entrepreneurs, and for the first time, we're not being paid in a money that has blood or like corruption into its inherent system. It's an extremely inspiring place to be building business.
Well, and especially once they figure out the mining situation and getting the cost of mining and the electricity down, I would love to see cleaner forms of mining. There's some complaints. I think they're valid, but I would love to see more proof of stake and validation that way, so that we can have a truly clean form of money.
Right. Well, we just get into different forms of transaction too.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the value of a Swift wire transfer compared to like the of a Facebook click or something, the value is different. But you can utilize some of the algorithms to procure value very similarly, although they're on massively different means. So I guess some of the last questions I'd like to, because I know we both want to kind of jump out of here early, is tell us about what the changes from 2017's tax ideas in the crypto world were, and to where we are now filing in 2019. Yeah.
So the biggest one, like I said, was kind of that like-kind exchange debate. As of 2017, it's all dead and gone. Like-kind exchange only applies to real estate, and we can't claim that crypto is real estate in any way, shape, or form. That is by far the biggest change. The other thing that really impacts, at least the entrepreneurs that are taking payment in crypto. So when you receive that Bitcoin, if you get $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, you're going to recognize $1,000 worth of gross income. You're going to subtract out your expenses, and you're going to have that net business profit. For the U.S. taxpayers, we now have what's called qualified business income. So depending on what your overall income is and what kind of industry you're in, if you're making, it's $157,000 or less for single individuals and then $315 for married, you get a 20% discount on that qualified business income. That it's a free deduction. You don't have to pay any taxes on that. So it's a really great way to actually accumulate crypto, is to get paid in crypto. And one, I think that helps in two ways. One, your stack gets better or bigger. And two, if you can get crypto with a higher basis and pay less taxes on it, net overall, that's going to benefit you time and time again. We love taking crypto because it's cheaper than paying credit card processing fees. For the international clients, it comes in faster than having to have it wired through a bank account and having an ACH wire come through, and I don't have to answer a bunch of questions to my banker of, oh, well, why did you get $10,000 from Pakistan? Like, dude, I promise I'm not selling secrets. And two, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do within that crypto. So another tax loophole that most people don't know is you can actually borrow against your cryptocurrency and not have it be recognized as a sale. So you're actually generating revenue from your stack, and that interest becomes a business expense. So if you've got a bunch of crypto and you want to start a business, now's a really good time to be doing that, because I don't think the price is going to slide, knock on wood, won't slide too much more. So it's a really good time to be leveraging the value of that crypto. And if the price goes up, then you're going to be able to turn around and actually sell that crypto to pay off that loan, and then you're no worse off, and you've actually got a functioning business surrounding it. So there's just so many things we can do to get creative with it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, the ability to kind of dive into different tax jurisdictions and help so many people out is such a valuable part. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because I know I hated this stuff. When I started to think about my taxes this year, I almost punched myself in the face. It was just such a bad feeling. Again, like I said, I have a total aversion to governments and all this nonsense, but you can't. It says you can't hate the player. You got to hate the game. It's like, well, you can't hate either if you want to have a good time here.
Right. Well, if you want it to be worth anything, you gotta play the rules. Play by the rules sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. The rule set doesn't always screw you over. But I agree. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things I have against paying taxes is that we know that so much of this money goes to pretty much implicit bombing of others. It's horrible. I hate that we're still. That we have so much power over us, but hopefully the crypto world can help release that, and we find better forms of governance through the blockchain space, and that we're very careful while writing this code, because it can very easily go even worse into the totalitarian's hands at this stage.
Well, and a great example of that, so the SEC has been cracking down on ICOs, and so now all the ICOs are pushing more and more towards security offerings instead of utility tokens. So that means only accredited investors can invest in pre-ICO tokens and what have you. The problem is what made blockchain so beautiful in 2017 is everyone, whether you were a school teacher making $20,000 a year or a Fortune 500 CEO, if you're willing to take the risk and do the research and invest in these tokens, you could create a massive amount of wealth. And I have quite a few clients that really built out of nothing just by taking a risk and understanding what blockchain is, and said, I want a piece of that. Because it's only accredited investors now it's anyone that's got a $3 million net worth that can invest in these things without any restrictions. And I think that's complete crap. Why do we exist in a system nowadays where it's not based on the merits of our ability to do due diligence on a company, but we have to wait for Father Government to protect us from the big bad scammers instead of just doing our own job and having personal responsibility? So, if there's anyone out there that wants to join my crusade and pushing the SEC to open up the accredited investor designation to merit-based instead of asset-based, we're trying to rally the troops, especially out here in Colorado, to get that done, because that'll change things to be a little bit more equitable for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how people don't grasp this concept so easily. They're always trying to censor or get other people to be quiet. It's like the only way we find critical thinking is by allowing everyone to have a platform, so that we can come to the deepest form of truth that's humanly possible. And it requires letting every fucking bozo and yell from the side of the mountaintop. So I'm very grateful to have the Bear family a platform to share these thoughts from the side of my mountaintop. Drew, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. I know we're going to cut it short, but basically maybe what we'll do is we'll have you again in about a month as Canadian tax time gets a little closer. That way we can go over a little bit more of some of the Canadian stuff as well. Again, if you guys haven't yet, if you're needing to do your taxes, you can check out archertaxgroup.com. Here, let me see if I can do this really quickly here.
We've got a small little section there too of contact us. We're always happy to do 15-minute consultations for free. So whether you want to use our services or not, reach out to us. We want to help out as much as we can. You know, the more money that you get to save on your taxes is, you know, more money that's not going to the government.
Yeah, so I think all of you guys can see this here. I've got the Archer Tax Group website open, nice and smooth. You can go up here to the news, notes, and services. And if you click on services, you can go down and you can find a way to contact them. And then there's the free scheduling for the 15-minute consultation as well. Super awesome. Drew, it's been an absolute pleasure. And as well, just so everyone knows, in the Bear family, Drew is actually referred to me by a good friend. So that's usually the way I like to find. I think referral business is probably one of the strongest ways to go, is just to connect people that are like-minded and work together. And like I said, even though I hate taxes, it's still something that I have to make sure that I don't muddy the waters with, because I free.
Right. No one looks good in federal orange.
Yes, exactly. Well, luckily, as a Canadian, you know, my government isn't as big as a bully as the United States. We've got a yoga boy as our prime minister or whatever. I'm not particularly worried, but it's better to not do anything illegal and not muddy the waters. I learned that a lot when I was younger. I'd done some stupid illegal nonsense, and I realized that, wait, if I do this properly, you can make a ton more money and still pay your stupid taxes, and you don't got to worry about anything. So there's no reason. Just enjoy being a player in the game, and don't get arrested for stupid shit, and you'll be fine.
Good advice in any field.
Yes, exactly right. This works from any country too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, no, it's actually we know that's not true. That sadly, there's countries like China and we live in a dangerous world, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to remind you. Please remember that stay aware of all the hostile environments that you might end up in. It's important. The Steel with the Arcane Bear. Thank you guys all for joining this evening, sharing your precious time with us, your most valuable asset that you have. I hope you guys have a great evening. Again, smash those thumbs up for Drew. Smash those thumbs up if you hate taxes, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And remember to check out archertaxgroup.com. The links for that will be down below. And sign up for your free consultation if you guys need help. This is Tio. We're signing off for the rest of the evening. Drew, thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
We'll see you guys on the other side.